Ladies and gentlemen, this is every League 2 transfer that has happened in the 2025 summer transfer window. If you do want to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 50 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What do you think is the best piece of transfer business that has been done so far? Now, the plan is to have this as a weekly series, so every Wednesday on this channel we're going to have a roundup of all of the League 2 transfers so far. Let's waste no further time and get straight into it. Now, all information taken in these videos is done by the website Transfermarkt, so if anything is incorrect or I've missed any off, then do let me know down in the comment section down below. For example, I'm pretty sure Accrington sold a player yesterday, but it's not been updated on here yet, so when that does get updated, we'll then obviously mention it next week. So according to Transfermarkt, Accrington Stanley are yet to do any transfer business. Barnet FC, obviously the National League champions last campaign, they've been very active so far. They've brought in Ryan Galvin, a 24-year-old left-back from Halifax Town. They've also brought in Adam Senior, a 23-year-old centre-back from Halifax Town. That Halifax squad has certainly been ripped apart this summer, and obviously them two are at a very good age. They've also brought in Ollie Kensdale, a 25-year-old centre-half from Eastbourne, so Barnet clearly happy to do a lot of their business in the National League so far. And they also brought in Emmanuel Osadibe, 28-year-old central midfielder, on a free transfer from Forest Green Rovers, obviously former Bradford City man. I think he actually scored in the playoff semi-final. I think it's just a playoff semi-final, isn't it? There's no first and second legs in the National League against Southend for Forest Green, but he's made the step up back into the Football League following his departure from Bradford City. I was going to be very surprised to see him back in the EFL, especially after a very average time with Forest Green Rovers, but he's going to be back in the Football League next season. The likes of Ben Cocker has joined Ebbsfleet, Reece Hall-Johnson has joined Kings Lynn, Jordan Cropper has joined Boston, and Adebola Olowu has joined a fellow League 2 side. In terms of Barrow AFC, they've done a little bit of transfer business so far. Scott Smith, 24-year-old central midfielder, has come in on a free transfer from Wigan Athletic. Just could never quite really break into that first team with Wigan, so it makes sense for him now to join Barrow and hopefully get some more regular game time there. Innes Cameron is a 24-year-old centre forward who's come in from Kilmarnock FC. He's not got the greatest goal scoring record, but Barrow, are never really going to be that team that go out and sign a proven goal scorer in the Football League, because they're just not that type of club. But if anybody is to get the best out of Cameron, I do think it will be Andy Wing. And they also recently brought in Jack Erin, a 26-year-old midfielder, on a free transfer from Walsall. Massively struggled with injuries over the last couple of seasons, so he's gone in there on a one-year deal, but I'm sure if he does quite well there, they will trigger that option for a further season. And as mentioned on the League 1 roundup on more SHD, central midfielder Robbie Gotts has joined League 1 side Doncaster Rovers on a free transfer. I think that's a bit of a blow for Barrow. It looks like they're also going to lose Dean Campbell as well to Northampton Town. In terms of Bristol Rovers, they're yet to do any transfer business so far. I think the other day they terminated the contract of Jamie Lindsay, but that's really all to mention about Bristol Rovers. Bromley, I really like the signing of Mitch Pinnock. He's come in on a free transfer from Northampton Town. 30 years of age, so still plenty of life left to give. Left winger, done very well over the last couple of seasons with Northampton in League 1, but in particular in League 2, and I do think that is a very, very smart pickup for Andy Woodman's side. Sticking with Bromley though, winger Harry McCurdy obviously joined a fellow League 2 side on a free transfer, and Louis Denny made the step back down into the National League, or it might even be National League South with Torquay. In terms of Cambridge United, they've not done too much business so far. They did bring in Ben Knight on a free transfer. I'm not too sure where he's been playing recently. It just says he's been without a club. 23 years of age, right winger. Didn't really work out his time at Manchester City, but still 23, so plenty still to give. I think he's gone in there on a one-year deal, and they've not really had many departures so far. Obviously, when their released and return list did come out, they released a lot of players, and I think, for example, Paul Digby is now set to sign a contract with Dundee United over in Scotland. Cheltenham Town are yet to do any transfer business, but I believe Max Harris was released in the released and return list, and he's joined Weston-super-Mare on a free transfer. Chesterfield, they've not really done much business so far. Obviously, Darren Oldacre has joined a fellow League 2 side, and Ollie Banks turned down a new deal with the football club to sign for National League side at York City. Obviously, 32 years of age, provides a wealth of experience. I do think it is a bit of a blow for Chesterfield, but it allows them to go a little bit more younger with their squad, because I do think for the large part, it was a very aging side, and obviously has made that step back down into the National League. In terms of Colchester United, not a lot's really happened with them so far. Crawley Town, they've had a little bit of transfer business. Harry McCurdy has come in on a free transfer following his release from Bromley. I think if anybody is to get Harry McCurdy back to the form that we saw a couple of years ago at Swindon Town, he is now 28 years of age. I do think it is Scott Lindsay. They've also brought in Reece Brown as well on a free transfer, 29 years of age. Hasn't played much football recently, in all honesty, but again, if anybody's to get the best out of these players, he's going to be Scott Lindsay at Crawley Town. I think they also had a transfer departure today to a fellow League Two side, but that's not been confirmed yet, so we'll mention that in next week's roundup. Crewe Alexandra, they've brought in Josh March, a 28-year-old striker from Harrogate Town, on a free transfer. They needed goals going into next season, and I don't really see Josh March getting 20-25 goals like what Crewe are going to need if they want to make it into that top 7 or even top 3 next campaign, but he's a decent option to have on off the bench. Maybe an improvement on Kane Hemmings, who has been released, but I do think they need a bit more of a turnover if they want to be more successful next campaign. In terms of Fleetwood Town, they're yet to do any transfer business. Gillingham, they've brought in Seb Palmer-Holden, a 21-year-old striker from Bristol City's under-21s. He's come in on an undisclosed fee on a 3-year contract, so clearly a player that Gareth Ainsworth sees a big future ahead of, 21 years of age, so still lots of room for him to grow and develop, and obviously scoring goals has been a big problem for Gillingham since they've come back down into League 2, and they'll be hoping that Palmer Holden can be that man. In terms of departures, Alex Giles, a 20-year-old centre-half, has joined Chatham on a free transfer. That's all that's really gone on so far for the Gills. Grimsby Town have done one piece of business either way. Winger Justin Amaluza has come in on a free transfer from Altrincham. Their squad has been completely ripped apart this summer. 28 years of age, I think he's more than ready now to make that step up into the Football League. And backup centre-half Lewis Cass has joined a fellow League 2 side on a free transfer. 25 years of age, but just wasn't really good enough if Grimsby are going to be wanting to challenge for that top 7 next campaign. Speaking of the destination of Lewis Cass, Harrogate Town have brought him in on a free transfer. I think he'll be a decent option for Harrogate. If Grimsby are wanting to challenge for that top 7, Harrogate, they'll just be hoping to avoid relegation again. I do think it is a smart pickup. They've also brought in left-back Jack Evans, a 24-year-old from Halifax Town. He's come in on a free transfer, and like I've previously mentioned, that not Harrogate squad, Halifax squad has been completely ripped apart this summer. They've also brought in Sean Mikulski, a 28-year-old centre-forward from Maidenhead United, for an undisclosed fee. Not an awful signing, but I wouldn't really say it's an improvement on Josh March. Obviously spent a bit of money for him. He is now coming into his prime, but it is a little bit of a step up from Maidenhead to Harrogate, and there is already a little bit of pressure on him. And obviously if Ellis Taylor does go, Harrogate have surely got to be one of the favourites for relegation. And obviously, as previously mentioned, striker Josh March turned down a new deal with the club to sign for fellow League 2 side Crewe Alexandra. In terms of MK Dons, they've had a very good signing in Nathaniel Mendez-Lang, 33-year-old right winger, comes in on a free transfer from Derby County. I think a lot of people would still say Mendez-Lang is more than good enough to be playing at League 1 level for the upcoming campaign, but obviously he's re-linking up with Paul Warren once again from their Derby days together, and obviously MK Dons have brought in another player from Crawley, but it's not on here yet, so we'll mention it in next week's episode. In terms of Newport County, they've not had any incoming so far, but 28-year-old left winger Nathan Wood has joined Pennybont on a free transfer. Notts County, they've done a little bit of transfer business so far. Matty Dennis, 23-year-old striker from Carlisle United, has come in on a free transfer, I think on a 3-year deal. I do quite like that signing. I think he's going to provide a bit of something different at the top end of the pitch. He's got a bit of physicality about him. Did very well at Carlisle. I think he got 6-7 goals in 12 or 13 appearances, something like that. So he had a pretty decent return there in the second half of last campaign. Hasn't played too much football though for a 23-year-old, and I do think if Notts are to be successful next season, these are the type of players that need to be signed, who've got a little bit about them. They can have that impact. They can start contributing things, because we've not really seen it from a lot of their players last campaign, and obviously it's big boots to fill in the departure of David McGoldrick. Sticking with Notts County, they brought in Tom Iorpender, a 20-year-old central midfielder from Huddersfield Town on loan for the full campaign. Now, I think this is the type of profile Notts County needed going into next season. I think he's 6'3". They were very weak in the midfield last season. We saw in the playoff semi-finals where they just got bullied really by Wimbledon's midfield, especially Alistair Smith, because they just didn't have a physical presence in there. By all accounts, a decent technical player as well. I think played around 10 games or so for Huddersfield in League One at last campaign. So I think on a loan signing, there's the option to maybe make it permanent next summer. I do think that is a smart pickup. They've not had any departures so far. Oldham Athletic, they're yet to do any transfer business, but obviously their season only ended about a week or so ago. Salford City, they've brought in Adebola Olawu on a free transfer from fellow League Two side Barnet. Obviously they needed to replace Curtis Tilt, who has joined Bradford City on a free transfer after turning down a new deal with the football club. He's 33 years of age now, making that step back up into League One, and I do think it is an okay signing for Bradford City. John Taylor has also joined Radcliffe on a free transfer. Sticking with Salford though, they brought in Callum Casey, I'm not 100% sure, I think it's Cisse, a 22-year-old right back from Wealdstone for an undisclosed fee. Don't really know much about him, but looking at the profiles that have come in a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old, and you look at the likes of John Taylor leaving at 32, Curtis Tilt leaving at 33, Matty Lunn leaving at 34, Liam Shepherd leaving at 30, Conor McElhaney leaving at 32, Ryan Watson leaving at 31. They're clearly trying to reduce the average age of that squad. Shrewsbury Town, they've been pretty active in this transfer window so far. They've brought in Tom Anderson, a 31-year-old centre-back from Doncaster Rovers, on a free transfer. He obviously turned down a new deal with Grant McCann's side in hope and in search really for more regular first-team football. And they also brought in Sam Clucas, a 34-year-old central midfielder, following his release from Lincoln City. I think they're both smart, experienced signings. We obviously saw how bad Shrewsbury were last campaign, so they need them characters in the dressing room to kind of turn that mindset around. And obviously we did see Roland Idawu joined St Mirren on a undisclosed fee. 23-year-old central midfielder, never really got much of a chance at Shrewsbury. In terms of Swindon, they've been quite active in the transfer window so far. They brought in 31-year-old Tom Nichols on a free transfer. Obviously spent, I think, the second half of last season on loan with the football club and has now joined on a permanent basis. I was going to make some sort of joke there about more clubs than Tiger Woods, but I just couldn't think of it in quick enough time. They've also brought in Joe Snowden, a 21-year-old central midfielder from Leeds United's under-21s on a free transfer. Just a one-year deal, so maybe a bit of a gamble from Swindon, but not really a player that I do know too much about. Darren Oldacre, 26-year-old central midfielder, he's come in from Chesterfield. I think he was released by Chesterfield, or maybe he turned down the new deal. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a good pickup for Swindon, considering the way that Ian Holloway likes to play. I think he's obviously a good ball-playing midfielder, and I do think that is a smart signing. And they also brought in James Ball, 29-year-old central midfielder from AFC Wimbledon. I think it's certainly a position that they did need to improve in going into next season. Obviously, they have already brought in 3 central midfielders. All of their signings are at a decent age, given what they might potentially bring to the side. I do quite like some of their signings so far, and obviously they're yet to have any major outgoings. Tranmere Rovers have done a little bit of business so far. Nathan Smith has come in on a free transfer from Port Vale. I think that is a really smart signing. Obviously, Andy Crosby knows him from his Port Vale days. Nathan Smith did very well with Port Vale. I think he's been there for 9 or 10 years, something like that, and he's done very, very well, and I do think that is a really smart pickup on a free transfer. Patrick Brough has also come in on a free transfer, 29-year-old left-back from Northampton Town. Again, really, really good signing at a good age. I think will provide a wealth of experience at left-back. And to compete with Brough, they've also brought back Ethan Bristow to the football club. I think he went over to America, I want to say, a year or two ago now, and obviously he has rejoined on a free transfer. Still only 23 years of age, and I do think that is a smart sign. And unfortunately for them though, Regan Hendry did turn down a new deal with the football club and has signed for League One side at Mansfield Town. He was clearly one of their better performers last campaign. 27 years of age, central midfielder. I do think that is a little bit of a blow for Tranmere. In terms of Walsall, they've not done much business so far. Courtney Clark has come in on a free transfer from Eastbourne. 22 22-year-old central midfielder. A bit of a step up from the National League South, but I do think that it could prove to be a shrewd bit of business. Oisin McKenzie turned down a new deal with the football club to sign for Scottish Premiership side Heart of Midlothian. Obviously 24-year-old centre-half, very famous for that handball away at Newport in the 101st minute. That was a big rollercoaster of emotions. Obviously we were on the coach as Bradford City fans to Chesterfield at that point. We'd obviously seen the news that Walsall had scored. Everybody was very deflated just as we were pulling into the ground, and as everybody's just about to get off the bus, we get the news come through that it's been disallowed. And the final piece of transfer business so far, as previously mentioned, is Jack Earing has left Walsall and signed for fellow League Two side Barrow, as we have already mentioned. So there is roughly every League Two transfer so far. Obviously there is the odd one here or there which has currently been missed by Transfermarkt, but hopefully we'll get the full roundup of that going into next week. Again, every Wednesday on this channel we will have a League Two roundup, obviously until the transfer window does shut. I know it is technically shut at this point, but not really many clubs are going out and signing players for fees at this stage. Does it really matter? If you have enjoyed watching today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 50 likes as I mentioned at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What do you think has been the signing of the window so far? Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.